Agnieszka Biscuit. Illustrated by Todd Smith. Exploring Ecosystems. Max Axiom, Super Scientist. Written by Agnieszka Biscuit. Illustrated by Todd Smith. Section 1. Communities of Earth. While trekking through a vast canyon, super scientist Max Axiom finds himself on an exploration into Earth's ecosystems. In some places, you can feel like the only thing on Earth. Hello, hello. But no matter how far you travel, you'll never be completely alone. The Earth is filled with both living and non-living things. The study of how these two parts of the environment interact is called ecology. All living things are called organisms, and you don't have to search far to find them. Fox and deer are organisms. Flowers and snakes are organisms. Even trees, birds, and bugs are organisms.
And let's not forget the living things we can't easily see, Max.
Hey, Teresa, what are you doing up there?
As an ecologist, I'm always looking for places to study organisms, including the tiniest worms, gnats, and bacteria. Why don't you grab some gear and join me? All organisms, big and small, are connected. Each depends upon other living things to survive.
And not just when they're dangling from a cliff, right, Teresa?
That's right, Max. Many animals eat plants for energy to live. Some survive by eating other animals.
The Earth is also full of things that aren't alive, like sunlight, which gives plants energy to make food, or soil, where plants anchor their roots and animals burrow, and the water we drink, and the air we breathe, which is so important to our survival. This community of living things working and interacting with their non-living environment is called an ecosystem.
And we're all a part of it, Max.
Thanks for the climb, but I still have a lot of ground to cover.
And a lot more organisms to see.
Teresa's right. Every ecosystem has millions of organisms. Each is part of a species. Members of a species are the same in many ways. They can mate and have offspring. The chipmunk is a kind of species. Humans are a kind of species too. All members of a species living in the same area are known as a population. All the chipmunks living in a forest are a population. Ecosystems contain multiple populations of living things. Deer, wolves, woodpeckers, trees, bugs, and grasses are all populations of a forest. They depend on each other for food and shelter. Together, they're known as a community. The community and its non-living environment form an ecosystem. The Earth is made up of a variety of ecosystems, all linked and working together. Section 2. Energy for the planet. Organisms need energy to live. Based on how they get energy, living things can be divided into 3 groups. Now, these groups include producers, consumers, and decomposers. Most producers are plants. Plants make their own food from sunlight through a process called photosynthesis. A closer look shows that plants use the sun's energy to change water and carbon dioxide into a simple sugar. The sugar is a form of stored energy called glucose. Most organisms can't use sunlight for energy directly the way that producers do. Living things that eat producers or other organisms for energy are called consumers. A grasshopper that chews on a plant is a consumer. And humans are consumers too. When we eat food, our bodies absorb nutrients that give us energy and keep us healthy. Definition: nutrient, a substance needed by a living thing to stay healthy. Plants get nutrients mainly from the soil in the form of minerals. Animals get nutrients mainly from the foods they eat. Consumers that eat plants for energy are called herbivores. This group includes tiny insects and larger animals such as white-tailed deer. Of course, not all consumers eat plants. Carnivores eat other animals to get energy. This group includes sharks, lions, hawks, and wolves. Omnivores eat both plants and animals for energy. Grizzly bears are omnivores. They fill up on grasses and berries as well as salmon. Raccoons, blue jays, and humans are omnivores too. But even the hungriest animals leave leftovers. Scavengers like vultures, crabs, or seagulls are always ready to clean up. They get energy by eating the bodies of dead animals. Decomposers get energy from breaking down the remains of dead plants and animals even more. Bacteria and fungi are decomposers. They help break down the flesh and bones of dead animals so plants and other living things can reuse them. Did you know? Without decomposers and scavengers, the world would be full of the remains of dead plants and animals. As nature's recyclers, decomposers are a necessary part of an ecosystem. This path of energy from one organism to the next is called a food chain. Because all living things need energy, food chains can be found every place on Earth, even underwater. Small animals known as zooplankton eat seaweed. Larger fish eat the zooplankton for energy, but many of these fish are eaten by even larger fish and animals. Food chains can be much more complicated. Often they overlap into a connected system called a web. In this food chain, grasshoppers eat plants, mice eat grasshoppers, and hawks eat mice. But mice eat more than just grasshoppers, and hawks eat things other than mice. In most ecosystems, consumers eat a variety of foods. Their food chains connect to form a food web. The sun is the main source of energy for every food chain. Plants only change a small amount of the sun's energy into food. They use much of this energy to stay alive. An energy pyramid tracks the path of energy through a food chain. Each level of an energy pyramid is a link in the chain. As this pyramid will show, energy gets quickly used up in the food chain. Only a small amount passes to other levels of consumers. Predator versus prey. Animals that hunt other animals are called predators. Animals that are hunted are called prey. Each level of consumer has even less energy available to use. The herbivore burns most of the energy gained from the plants by breathing, walking, and reproducing. Only a tiny portion of energy is left for the carnivore. That's why there are far fewer carnivores at the top of the food chain than plant eaters farther down. Pyramid of the Serengeti. 5 square miles of the Serengeti produces about 7,500 tons of grass. These plants can support about 350 gazelles, zebras, and wildebeest. All these animals support one lion. The population of prey and predator stays in balance with these numbers. If there were more lions in the area, they would kill too many plant eaters and run out of food. The sun's energy flows through ecosystems in one direction. Other elements are reused or recycled. Water is reused in 2 ways. When oceans, lakes, and rivers are heated by the sun, water turns into vapor. Water vapor in the air gets cold, changes into liquid, and forms clouds. The air can only hold so much water. When clouds get too heavy, water falls back to the earth as snow or rain. Most of this precipitation falls back into the ocean or runs off land into lakes or streams. And the cycle begins again. Definition: precipitation. Water that falls from clouds to the earth's surface. Precipitation can be rain, hail, sleet, or snow. Not all water runs directly back into the ground. Plants take up water through their roots. After passing through the plant, water enters the air through tiny openings in the leaves. This process is called transpiration. There is an oxygen cycle, too. Animals breathe out carbon dioxide, which plants take up to use in photosynthesis. Plants release oxygen in the process. Animals breathe in this oxygen, and the cycle begins again. Section 3. World's Biomes. Rain isn't only a part of an ecosystem's water cycles, it's also a part of the climate. Climate is the usual weather in an area over many years. And ecosystems with similar climate, plants, and animals are called biomes. A biome's climate often determines the kinds of living things found there. Biomes are not specific places. A desert biome can be any desert-like ecosystem on Earth, whether it's in the United States, Asia, or Africa. All deserts are very dry. Plants and animals living here must survive the lack of water in extreme temperatures. Many, like this mouse, live underground to escape the heat. Deserts receive less than 10 inches of rain each year, cover about 1/5 of the Earth's surface. Not all deserts are hot. In Asia, the Gobi Desert is cold nearly all year. Tropical rainforests are very warm, but they're also very wet. The year-round supply of food supports a huge variety of animals, including parrots, frogs, and tons of insects. Rainforests receive more than 100 inches of rain each year, provide 40% of the Earth's oxygen supply, support more kinds of trees than any other biome on Earth. Grasslands have a large variety of grasses and flowering plants. Often the winters are cold and the summers are hot. In the United States, most grasslands are now farmland, but once they were full of bison and pronghorn antelope. Grasslands, divided into two types. Savannas are found in tropical locations and contain scattered trees. Temperate grasslands are drier and have no trees. Grasslands are called prairies in North America. Deciduous forests have trees that drop their leaves in the fall. The summers are warm and the winters are cool. Animals thrive on the many leaves, seeds, nuts, and insects. Deciduous forests. 4 seasons: autumn, winter, spring, summer. Sometimes known as temperate forests. The leaves on many trees change color and fall off in autumn months. In coniferous forests, the winters are long and cold. Some animals hibernate or migrate to survive. Others have adapted to the harsh temperatures. Coniferous forests. Northern areas are known as boreal forest or taiga. Mainly evergreen trees grow in these regions. These types of trees have needles which often stay on all winter. On the cold plains of the tundra, little snow or rain falls. Without precipitation, few trees grow here. Caribou and Arctic foxes roam this lonely land. Tundra. Top soil layer remains frozen. This frozen layer is known as permafrost. In summer, the Arctic gets almost 24 hours of sunlight. This region is nicknamed the Land of the Midnight Sun. The ocean is the world's largest biome, covering 71% of Earth. Underneath the surface, plants, animals, and fish all live in this enormous ecosystem. Oceans. Earth has 5 oceans: Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, Indian, and Southern. The oceans hold 97% of Earth's water. Oceans contain about 80% of life on Earth. Section 4. A delicate balance. In every ecosystem, the relationship between plants, animals, and their environment is a delicate balance. When one part of an ecosystem suffers, the other parts are often affected. In Canada and the northern United States, the population of snowshoe hares directly affects the number of lynx. One year, hares are everywhere, but few lynx roam the land. When the hare population is up, the lynx have more food to eat. Soon, their population goes up as well. As the lynx feed, the hare population begins to drop. Without hares in the ecosystem, many lynx starve. The lynx soon experience their own population crash. And we're back to where we started. This cycle happens about every 10 years. The rise and fall of populations is common within ecosystems, and humans can help or hurt this natural balance. Long ago, mountain lions and wolves balanced deer populations, but humans eliminated many of these natural predators. Today, deer numbers have risen in the United States. Overpopulation leads to lack of food. The hungry deer mow down plants and trees which may never come back. Humans also change the face of Earth by cutting down forests, turning prairies to farmland, and building on wetlands. Unfortunately, these changes are not always for the better. Remember, we're all members of an ecosystem, and everything in an ecosystem is connected. We must all do our part to care for the plants, animals, and environment around us. None of us can do it alone.